welcome to another episode from the Geek Brood. So I need to get better about starting videos when I start a new project. Because I'm bad about just diving right in, and I want to be able to share with you guys my process. So Katie wants to be Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender for Halloween. And we are strapped financially, so I can't go out and buy her a costume. So I went out to a thrift store, and then I found this blue t-shirt dress that was actually in the women's department, but it is an extra small, so it should fit pretty close to Katie. So the first step that I didn't show you guys was here. It's inside out right now. And I put it on her, and I pinched up the sides and pinned it in, and then I sewed that in and cut out this section here to make it a little bit tighter on her. Then I had her put it on this morning, and it still seemed a little bit loose, especially when we thought about putting the belt around it. So she was freaking out about the pins and kept thinking I was gonna stick her with them. So instead, this morning when I had her put it on, I just used chalk and drew on the lines where I'm going to be sewing in. I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna fold it in half and make sure that both sides are even. And then also the slits are gonna go up basically where the sides are gonna be sewn in, because Katara does have slits, and then she wears leggings underneath the dress. So I will take you from the process from here. All right, so now Katie has tried on the dress after I have made the adjustments. However, hold your arms out, Katie. You can see that the areas where the hips are still too wide for her, because she is still a preteen and doesn't have the big hips. So I'm gonna need to take those in. And that's right, she's a little higher than where I was going to start the slits. So now that I have the sides of the dress, the appropriate size for Katie, and the hips have been corrected, and I have hemmed the sides of the splits of her dress. No, it's not real pretty on the inside, but it's okay. Not supposed to be looking on the inside anyway. The next step is to add the white trim that Katara has on her dress. So she has it coming around her collar. It comes down like a V here, and then it crosses over and comes over to the side. She has a belt, but I'm gonna make that separate with clasps that Katie can put around on her back. And then she has fur trim actually on the bottom here, but I don't have any fur. I have felt, but I am still going to try to recall back to my days of sewing classes and measure this out and put it onto paper, cut it out, and then lay it onto the material before I go and cut the white felt. So that way I can make sure that the pattern is correct before I go and cut the felt and cut it wrong, and it looks terrible when I wasted the material. So, and I'm totally winging this, I don't know how. I've got such a runny nose because it's cold outside, and there's allergies in the air, allergens in the air that are affecting my allergies. And what we see is that it looks about 33 inches to get to this side piece. I'm going to make it longer just to make sure I have extra for overlapping and make sure I didn't mess up anything there. So we're gonna make this strip 35 inches long, and I think 2 inches I think I'm gonna start with 2 inches. 1.5 inches might be a better width, but again, it's better to start with thicker. You could always cut things off. You can't really add it on so well. I don't have pattern paper that they use for cloth. I just have my art paper, so I'm gonna use that. And a ruler, and a pencil, and I have some tape, scissors. Told you, allergies.
I should go take an allergy pill. But I don't have time. I got so much I gotta do. I gotta make this costume. For my daughter, who thinks Mom is so creative and resourceful, she can do anything. No matter how little bit of time she's got left to get it done. Well, how much other stuff she's gonna do. And I do, other stuff I gotta do. I got my freelance marketing stuff I gotta do. I got household stuff I gotta do. I got bills I gotta pay. I gotta run errands. I have got my own laundry that I haven't even folded and put away yet. It's sitting in a basket in my closet. I gotta know my kids about that sort of thing. But you know what? I'm not doing all the other stuff that I'm doing. So I give myself a break on that. And also, I've got bits of costume pieces shoved in different places in my closet because they've been gotten down for my children to consider for their costumes and for their Spirit Week things.
Sorry for my little spaz moment there. This morning has been a little stressful. All right, so now I have my pattern piece. I'm gonna lay this down where I think it should go. Now, I may have to adjust this because the back of the neck is curved, or what the heck, maybe I'll just make it straight because, like I mentioned before, I ain't got a lot of time. And this little girl is gonna be happy with what she gets. So, that is a needle, that is not a pin. I had a whole bunch of pins at one point, I really did. I mean, maybe straight pins are kind of like the sewing world's equivalent to hair bands and bobby pins, that you start off with a box of 100 of them, and in a week you have 2. And you don't know what happened to them. Good thing is, we have all hardwood floors throughout the house, so there's no needles hiding in carpet anywhere. Like in my last place, that was my fear, was a needle had gotten dropped into the carpet and it was just hiding there amongst the carpet pile, waiting for an opportunity to rise up and stab somebody in the foot. Sorry, bear with me, people. I told you. Not professional seamstress. And cat, you got to get off my pattern. Ray likes his table, but specifically, she likes to have the viewpoint, the higher viewpoint of the room, and she likes this nice lamp that gives off heat. It is a hot lamp. One time I made the mistake of putting my phone stand right next to it while I was doing a Zoom call, and the darn lamp melted the glue that's on the foam in the phone stand. Foam in the phone stand. So it dropped my phone. Y'all, I'm struggling. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing. I am gonna say 2 inches is too thick. It's too thick. I need to cut this down. And I started to say earlier, I am not a seamstress, and it has been a long time since I have done any kind of pattern sewing. I have done a fair amount in my past, but since It was before my daughter was born. 11 and a half years ago. I have not done any pattern sewing. Before that, let's see, I made a dress for myself. I made all the nursery items, you know, like the little bumper that goes in the crib, curtains, the ruffle across the top of the window. I know it has a name. I don't remember what it's called. Blanket. And even before then, let's see, I worked on patterns for other dresses for myself and costume pieces, and specifically when I was working at a Ren fair. And that's Renaissance Fair for all you patrons, non-Renny folk. But in that 11 and a half years, I have done my fair amount of taking in clothes, fixing holes, fixing rips, fixing stuffed animals. Oh, I made a stuffed animal. Forgot about that. My son, when he was younger, loved dinosaurs. And he particularly loved the one with the frill around its head. I always forget its name. It was the dinosaur that killed the bad guy in Jurassic Park. And that was the dinosaur that my son really liked. Not that he'd seen Jurassic Park when he was a kid, because I didn't want to traumatize him. He just, from going to museums and reading dinosaur books and all that stuff, he was like, this is the coolest dinosaur. It's got a frill, it spits venom. That's awesome. And he drew out what he wanted the stuffed animal to look like, and I put it together using felt and stuffing, and he called it Chompy. We still have it. Recently, Max tried to make some of his own modifications by giving Chompy a split bottom lip. So it's starting to resemble a little bit of the Demogorgon. Just a little bit. That needs to be fixed though, because actually that seam popped open. But you know what? He hasn't been bugging me about it. And I've got so many other things to do. Yeah, okay. I think 1.5 inches looks a lot better. Still not entirely sure. Don't talk with pins in your mouth, people. Still not entirely sure how I'm gonna get this around her collar. I mean, I think it's just gonna have to stick up. Like it is so. I am not a seamstress, but I am a perfectionist, so. I am struggling. Because I want it to be perfect, but I'm not good enough to make it perfect. Help me. Maybe because I'm laying it flat, you know, maybe that's just a stupid thing to just try to lay this thing flat when it's going to be curved. It's going to be, you know, with as much as I am rambling and how crazy I am right now, you would think, oh my gosh, how much coffee has she drank? How much caffeine has this woman ingested to try to get this project done? None. This is just me in my crazy panic mode of like, oh my gosh, it is 2 days before Halloween. 1 day before our church's trunk or treat. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got so many other things to do besides just make a Halloween costume. So many other things. Okay, see the cat? See how she's trying to creep in? She's trying to get to that lamp. Okay, 2 pieces of good news. One, my cat left. So now I have some little more room to move for right now. And then 2, I double checked Katara's costume, her dress, excuse me, from the anime. And it does look like this pretty much goes more closer, halfway between her armpit and her waist. I was thinking it went down to her waist and I was stressing, but I think this placement is good. So now, what we're gonna do is pin it to the felt. Pin it to the felt. And now is the time to be like, it's got to be super flat. Oh, you know, I bet it would have made more sense if I'd had a dummy, like a mannequin. But I don't have a mannequin because I'm not a professional seamstress. You know who I think at one point was a professional seamstress? Kevin's mom, from Home Alone. You may not even thought about this, but why the heck did she have multiple sewing dummies in her basement for him to then use, make the fake party scene? I mean, who has that? Can you imagine me if I actually had caffeine? Maybe it would calm me down. Or maybe it would just make this worse. And I would be in a coma on the floor. Okay, so now I have successfully cut out the strip of white felt. And now I'm going to pin it onto the dress where I'm going to sew it. Now normally when you have fabric, you want to fold over the edges and do a nice hem, but felt is so thick you do that and it's just going to look weird. And edges don't tend to not fray. So I'm probably just going to do a whip stitch around the edges here. Okay, so here we are. So far, I have got the top part sewn on. I did start with a whip stitch, but then I saw that it was starting to pull apart the felt, so I just did my regular stitching. On here, the top part is still the raw edge. If I had had more time than a week, this is not the way I would have done it, but here we are. And then I got on the bottom part the what is actually fur in the anime, but again, I had to work with materials that I had, which was felt, so just a white strip on both sides. And I did make the belt today while Katie was at school, and here in a little bit I'm going to fit it onto her to make sure that I get the clasps in the exact right spot. And for the sleeves, I had thought, oh well, you know, maybe I can find some kind of a pattern to do one version of her outfit where she's got this light blue kind of a bell sleeve coming out here, and then it's fitted down on her lower arm with the dark blue. And I kept looking for the pattern, couldn't find it. But then my mom had come over because I was going crazy this week with all the stuff that I needed to do. She said, I'm just gonna go and find a dark blue long sleeve shirt that you can wear underneath this. And because we were seeing variations of the costume, she found a really cool dark blue long sleeve shirt at Walmart that had, it was out in space and had a unicorn on it, so that Katie would like wearing it besides just with the costume, just on its own. The downside was that when Katie put it on, the collar was too high. It came up here and you could see it above this. So that was a problem. So now what we're going to try to do here with just an hour and a half before we have to leave is I'm going to take these dark blue pants. I am going to split open the seam, I'm going to cut them down, and then I'm going to sew them on the inside of this sleeve here. So she will have her long sleeve in dark blue, basically fitted. And then she's already said for next year she wants to be tough, and I'm glad we're planning a year ahead. Maybe I'll actually have a decent costume made then in time. Haha! Instead of her waiting a week beforehand and saying, hey mom, I need you to make me this costume. push me like.